Do you feel like your life is on autopilot? Do you feel like you're just kind of moving day to day through the stresses and managing those stresses that come up day to day? Feel like you're living paycheck to paycheck. And yet you see that there's a bigger picture out there. You see that there's an opportunity that if you could find a way to develop some gifts, skills, talents you have, and make them be superpowers, that you could make a greater impact on the world. If so, you're going to want to watch this video because we're going to be diving into a very important part of that development process, all around the idea of intentionality. Now, my name is Jake, and I am the founder and chief giver over at the Giver Method. Now, the Giver Method, it's an acronym, and we help people to identify their gifts, which is the G, and their superpowers. We then help them look at who they can have the most influence on and be intentional and impactful with that influence. That's why we're going to talk about intentionality today. The V is for value, because we want to create value without asking for anything in return. And then the E is engagements. How do we make sure that our engagements with individuals are as productive and effective as possible? And the R is the outcome, relationship riches. Now, it's not just relationship riches. Like, yes, you will see relationships improve as you become a giver, but when you take the gifts and superpowers you have and give them without asking for anything in return, the universe will have a way of paying you back. Not that it's going to every single time, or not that it's going to be, you're trading this for that, but the universe has a way of doing it. So for me, I'm inviting the universe to pay me back by giving my gifts and superpowers and delivering that value to the right people intentionally, without asking for anything in return. So we're going to talk today about intentionality and how that impacts your development in becoming a giver and an impact maker and trying to do more than just be on that autopilot. So let's dive into it. Let's dive deeper into this idea of intentionality. Let's be clear. Intentional choices are deliberate and purpose-filled. So living intentionally or looking to be more intentional with these gifts and superpowers, it means that you're thinking ahead before you're making your choices, and you're taking into account your personal values, maybe beliefs, and the big one is going to be the goals. The goals you're setting on who you're trying to become. Now, people who try to live intentionally, they're not as impulsive. They methodically think through things before they go ahead. They think and choose things and look at it, how it's going to affect their lives, how it's going to affect others' lives and those around them positively. Now, in a moment, we're going to cover 10 ways that you can live more intentionally. What it starts to come down to is having a clear understanding of what you want. What's the purpose and your passions? What are you trying to accomplish? It's going to start by being clear with that. Setting goals. We talk a lot about in the Giver Method of setting goals and how you can push to achieve those. We talked about SMART goals, things like that. We're going to dive into things, how it will just positively affect your life and positively affect those around you. Now, I encourage you that as you go through this journey, that you're going to want to take notes. Get out a piece of paper, get out a journal, write down your thoughts, your feelings as you go through that, because I promise you that this is going to help you to develop good habits. It's going to help you on that path of becoming who you want to be and serving the purpose you're trying to serve. Now, I could sit here all day and make the case of why being intentional, not just with developing your gifts and superpowers, but being more intentional day to day, why it's such a great idea for you and how it improves your state of being, your mental health and fitness. There's all sorts of things like that it starts to produce for you. So we can talk about things like it reduces stress, it can improve your focus, it boosts that resilience that you have. It helps you, encourages you to be more optimistic and to believe in more things, helps you be more present and in the moment, and it helps you set boundaries in what you're trying to accomplish. There's all sorts of benefits. Now, on top of that, if you are trying to develop your gifts and superpowers and make the impact and on those you can have influence over, then intentionality is going to be key. So let's dive into these areas where being more intentional can make an impact. So there are skills that we're looking at. There are skills that we're looking at for intentional living. There's going to be things like goal setting. There's going to be self-awareness. Of course, there's organization, gratitude. We have to be determined what we're trying to do, things like that. So let's dive into the 10 ways that you can challenge yourself in being more intentional and the ways that can show up day to day. And I also want you to think about how it can show up as you are developing your gifts and superpowers to give to the right people, providing them value without asking for anything in return. The first of those is going to be setting goals. Now, we talk about setting SMART goals. So those are specific, measurable, achievable / you're being accountable, that they're relevant to what you're trying to do and they're timely. And so setting those type of measurable goals in what you're trying to do. So if you're trying to develop your gifts and superpowers, it may be setting goals like, I want to read through this thing or watch that video. I want to each day do this to develop my gift or superpower. Each day I want to be giving my gift or superpower to people in this way, so that we're finding those ways that we want to do it. By setting goals, we're starting to paint the picture of where in our life we can see that we could do that. Now that might take a little bit of reflection to say, well, what has that shown up, or how's that shown up for me in the past, or how have I seen others do that? And then setting the goal of what that may look like on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly type of an idea. So setting goals. The second way to be more intentional with your life and in developing yourself is to set a daily routine. So if you've set goals, now you can plan out daily routines. Now, I'm a creature of habit. I am all about routines. I wake up super early. I get into my office super early so I can do specific things. I can work on work-related stuff. I can record content. I can prep before anyone else shows up to the office, because once people show up, things get a little bit hectic. And if I want to show up as best as possible when people are here so that I can be intentional and be giving to them, then I need to set the routine that allows me to have the space, time, and mental energy to do that. So it could be simple things like, okay, I wake up at this time, I go to the gym, I eat breakfast, whatever those things may be. Set a routine and follow it, and make sure it's accomplishing the goals that you've set from step 1. Step 3, you're going to want to create some sort of a reminder to your goals and routine. Now that may show up as a whiteboard with details. It could be a vision board. It could be all sorts of things, but we need a way that we can visually see. It's a visual representation of what we're trying to accomplish and where we're going and what we're doing day to day as a part of that. Sometimes you're going to have a struggling day, a hard day, and being able to look and be like, oh yeah, that. It's just an easy way to remind you what you're trying to accomplish. So whatever that may look like, create that visual representation that shows you, here's where I'm going, here's what I'm trying to achieve, here's who I want to be, and here's the path in which I see myself getting there. The fourth way to be more intentional day to day, this one may not have as much to do with developing gifts and superpowers, but it has to do with the outcome of relationship riches that comes from that. You need to focus on and be intentional with strengthening relationships. Strengthen relationship with your spouse or partner, with your children, with your parents, your siblings, your friends, family, coworkers, whatever that may look like. You want to strengthen that. Sometimes it's going to be spend a little bit more time with them, dive into what they're focused on and what their concerns or pains are right now. Help support them wherever that may be. That will help you to make sure that you are closer to them. It will help relieve your stress, and it will help relieve their stress. So, fourth way, strengthen those relationships. Number 5, this kind of goes into routine and what you're planning to do. Don't waste time. It is so easy for us to overfill our schedules. It's really funny that if you think about your life and what's happened to you in the past, you can almost pinpoint to events and activities or memories to a day on the calendar at a time. Yet we think that our future, where we're headed, doesn't have to live on a calendar. So calendaring things out, knowing that there's only so much time in a day, and not letting yourself find wasted time and wasted space. I do it. I find myself being guilty of that. I find myself on my phone or whatever it may be, but trying to focus on not wasting time and being more focused and intentional. The sixth way, I think we're on 6, is that you need to make sure that you are in a space where you can live intentionally, that you can think clearly, and that comes down to declutterization. Now, I'm be the first person to tell you, I have 3 boys. I have a dog. I have a spouse that works from home. By the time I get home in the afternoon, there are things I don't want to do around the house. But, so there are things out, there's toys, there's a book here, there's papers on the thing, but it's not cluttered. When your life is cluttered, the things around you are cluttered, your mind is cluttered, and it makes it more difficult to be intentional. If you put the thing away, rather than just setting it down, it will save you so much more time down the road. Now, if my wife, my family, some of my friends are watching that, they're going to laugh at that because they know that I am the worst at just setting things down or putting things into a bucket and being like, I'll get to that later. But it comes down to being intentional by not letting yourself be cluttered. You can have stuff on your desk. You can see I've got Star Wars stuff. I've got Star Wars figures. I've got things all over. But the goal is to not be cluttered. When your space is cluttered, your mind is cluttered, and it impacts how you show up and how you can be intentional. The seventh way, which has also been hard for me, intentional living, intentional choices, less to do with being a giver, but it has everything to do with being intentional, and that's what we're talking about. Intentional spending choices. Like I said, I'm not the best at it. I think I've got a great balance with my wife on how we make deliberate spending choices. She keeps me in check so I don't just spend. But you have to be deliberate with what we're doing. That makes you think through what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, and where your goals are in the future. If you have a financial goal, how do you achieve that? If you have a development goal, how do you achieve that? Sometimes that spending comes into play. So be deliberate with those choices. Number 8 and number 9 kind of play into each other really, really well. So 8 is you need to focus on yourself. You need to have those points of how you take self-care that you do as you're going through the day. Outside of doing the giver method, outside of helping businesses figure out their systems across technology, the different lives and hats I wear, I also do grief recovery with people. And one of the biggest things we help people focus on while they're working on that recovery is that they have to focus on themselves. They have to look at that, how they do that self-care. Now, you don't have to worry about disappointing others. You're developing and improving yourself. So don't worry about that. You can go to friends, you go to family, you go to have mentors, you can get advice, whatever those things may be, but you need to focus on you and also believe in you. So that's number 8. Number 9, like I said, while focusing on yourself, is you need to be focused on your mental health. I have, for whatever reason, in the last few years, my brain discovered this thing called anxiety. Don't know if you've heard of it, but my brain discovered it about 3 years ago, and it hits hard. And I've had to find the ways that when my brain goes into that automatic mode of anxiety, I've had to find the ways that I can check it, that I can stop it, or when it gets bad, how do I clear my brain? How do I relax myself so that I can move past that thing? Mental health is so important, especially in today's society. So if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling overwhelmed, you find the ways that you can get help, or find the ways of what you can do that help to relieve that stress, that anxiety, that overwhelm. Like I said, I fall victim of it all the time, and I have steps that I go through that help me to relieve that anxiety. So focus on, monitor, and look at improving mental health. That's going to be a huge part of living intentionally and being intentional about your gifts and superpowers. And then, of course, the last one, number 10, I think that's 10, I think we've gotten through all of them, is that you need to change your mindset and be looking at everything through a positive lens. Don't be Debbie Downer. Don't be negative Nancy, whatever that may look like. Stay positive on those you interact with. Stay positive on what you're working on. If I stay positive and I believe that I can accomplish the thing I want to accomplish, it's amazing how the universe helps me get there. If I stay positive with those around me, it's amazing how they view me in a certain light, and that improves my relationship with them. So stay positive and stay, focused on how you do that when you're interacting with individuals and how you're working through your own stuff. There will be challenging times, whether it be, family problem, work problem, political unrest, things like that, financial issues, there's all sorts of things. Stay positive, stay focused, believe in yourself more than anything else is one of the things I love to push to people. Hopefully you have found these ideas and thoughts helpful. Hopefully you can take some of those and implement them into your daily life. Start being more intentional. Start making an impact. We at the Giver Method want you to develop gifts, skills, superpowers, and and be able to give them to the right people in the right way, delivering amazing value, that up levels everybody. So we hope that you could do that. You can always subscribe to the channel, like the video, find us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, all those places. You can check us out at thegivermethod.com and sign up for the newsletter or see the ways that we help people in developing their gifts and finding those ways to find the right people to give it to and deliver value. Hopefully you found this impactful. Hopefully you found value in this. Share it with someone you think may need it. And hopefully we'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.